Hey guys, it is whatever time it is in the morning, 8:30-ish, I hope, on the 24th of May 2022. I hadn't planned on making a video until after work and everything, but I've just spoken to my landlord again, and it turns out there's been a bit of a miscommunication. So she's called me and said she's trying to get the conveyancer to get a hold of the new buyers, because obviously they're aware that I'm here, there's a tenant. Turns out that my landlord had no idea that I'm on the disability until I literally just told her. So she was a lot calmer and nicer today, and she said, I thought I'd better call back and give you some clarification. She goes, because I got the feeling that you think that I'm kicking you out in 60 days. And I was like, that's exactly what I thought. And I don't understand why I don't have written notice. I don't understand why you hadn't mentioned any of this, and like the board's gone up and everything going on. And she said to me, what did she say? She goes, obviously, she never wanted to sell this house. This is her investment that she's losing, and I appreciate that. Anyone that's been watching for long enough would know the owners of this house are the owners of the house, like the units that were built next door to my old house, right? And the back one burnt down. Now, as I've explained in videos before, they've always said they can't do a single thing to this house until that house is rebuilt, besides selling this one. Now, this is where I feel like I can breathe better, and I'm so much more I'm very grateful to her for the phone call, because as you guys know, today's my first face-to-face meeting. I haven't even finished putting it into the doc. I sent my boss a message that I probably should not have. But, fucking thank God I work with people who deal with anxiety and mental illness and stuff like that, because they're all very supportive. Now, I have been going based on I have 60 days and literally counting down to get everything sorted, packed, put it out for hard rubbish, sold, whatever I can do to get down to the bare minimum stuff, to put into storage. Worst case scenario, I need to live in the car for a little while. Now, that was fucking with me even more so because of university. Now, Andrew came to help me yesterday, helped me move the tent. Thank you. I am getting babies, so little plants. Ow. I still got to deal with this fucking possible coleslaw coming out. What was I saying? Yeah, I'm getting plants on Saturday. So they'll be going straight into grow for backup. Anyway, what am I trying to say? Because I got to hurry the fuck up. Basically, my landlord said, I am not giving you notice. She said, these people are planning, they want the permit. She goes, and they've obviously got the board up and all that sort of stuff. Baby, please don't bark at the kids walking past. Oi, hey, focus on mummy, you dummy. Anyway, guys, so she said, first things first, you are not getting 60 days notice from now. I'm not sending you a letter. She goes, I am not vacating you. I'm not getting rid of this. Like, as far as I'm concerned, she said, I'm just selling the property. She didn't. Oh, Jesus, boss. She did mention that they'd considered upping the rent. And I'd even said to her husband, if it gets down to whether or not you have to sell my home or you want to increase my rent, I'm happy to pay an increase in rent. I pay $100. I'm aware that I'm an extremely, incredibly lucky person in this regard. I'm also holding on to the fact that I fully manifested this house. Yeah, I know I did. Just like this job, just like everything else. As I have been. I woke Rachel up this morning, and even I was struggling. I sort of half rung her. She's like, call me back, multiple snoozes. And I obviously was snoozing in between, and at one point I was like, oh, I better check where I'm actually going, because I'm going to like, I don't know, it's like a university in Carlton that I've never been to before. And I'm driving, obviously, and I sort of in a half dose, like clicked on the link, went to the map, went, okay, it's saying it's going to take 45 minutes now, and it's like 6:30 in the morning. Once the traffic is busy for work, blah, 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 it'll probably go to an hour 15, depending. Thankfully, I don't have to be there until 10:30. Let's see what time it is. Sorry for the fingers. It is 8:35 and there's a text there. So fingers crossed, that's my boss telling me that I figured out the right car park and where I'm supposed to meet him. Because I'm obviously not a uni at this student. No, that's not right. I'm not a student at this uni. But yes, so... I've checked again before making this video. It said 55 minutes. Again, what did I just say it was? 8 something? This is how fucked my memory is. What did we say? 8:36. Right, okay. So I've got just under 2 hours to get to the meeting. And it's going to, and I'm averaging an hour and whatever to get there. Everything is ready on my table to go and walk out the door. Thank God. I just got to like put my shoes on and I will take my hairbrush with me. Thankfully I'm fully vaxxed, I guess, got that thing. Anyway, back to the most pressing stuff. So yesterday I called, and I think I made it, no, see, I made 2 videos yesterday, but I've only uploaded one of them. And so there's another one in between, but I was in an absolute mess and I don't remember what I said. And for the first time ever, haven't decided if I'm going to upload it yet, and I will probably watch it, because if it's irrelevant now that I've made the next one, it doesn't really matter. But while Andrew was here, he made some very valid points that I could not see in the moment because of how I feel for you, Andrew. I feel for everyone in my life that's ever seen me having a breakdown. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I think is what I mean, they're a lot milder than they used to be. So what poor Andrew had to witness yesterday, which wasn't great. My phone stand is on my computer stand, so if it's making creaky noises, that's why. And boss just jumped off the bed. So Andrew kept saying to me, it's okay, you know you can do this. You talk about it all the time. Rise above your vibrations. Rise, rise, rise. And I was like, yeah. I know all of this. I'm the one that says it all. Really hard to do in the moment when it feels... It's like... I reckon if I could have one wish for one day, it would be to understand what a neurotypical person feels like. Because I obviously got no fucking clue, yeah? Like... I don't know what it feels like to not be consumed with thoughts of death and anxiety and stress and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I have my days, don't get me wrong. I'm in a good place. This is the best place I've been in my life. And I'm not talking about the house. I'm talking about the time in my life. I'm good, yeah? And I know this. So when meltdowns like yesterday happened that Andrew witnessed, I don't know how the next person, say his point of view or his perspective, would explain it to a third party. But as I explained it to him, this is incredibly mild. These are mild breakdowns that I'm having. None of you would want to see or hear or what. Like, the actual flipping myself out, worst case scenario, fucking... breakdowns. I don't remember the last time someone saw that. Maybe it was Mr. X. Maybe. Probably. I don't know. And I'm very grateful that I have got a lot better control under it. But anyway, we were talking because we moved the tent. I'm getting the babies. That's all good. The babies are, and we're talking about wet plants, obviously. Because I'm supposed to have a specialist appointment tomorrow, which I now no longer know what I'm going to do. I've left a message for the reception admin lady to call me so I can at least figure out exactly what it's going to cost, what the rebate will be, whether or not I should go through with it, whether if I can just talk to the receptionist and say, please get her to send more scripts for the oils through, because I'm definitely not going to be purchasing like prescribed cannabis bud, because like I can grow my own. I've got backup. Fingers fucking crossed I get it right this time, guys, but it's not auto seeds. The plant's already started. Hopefully I won't have to do anything too much. And the tent's outside. So, as always, I'm talking about a billion different things at once without finishing sentences or stories, but I'm going to wrap it up because I've got to hurry the fuck up. So, landlord's called. She is not giving me notice. She said, you will not need to be out of the house within 60 days. She said, worst case scenario, she goes, that the new buyers want to build immediately. She goes, they still have to give you notice. That's the law. She goes, you still have rights. She goes, I'm not kicking you out. I'm not vacating you. I'm not doing any of that. They had contemplated upping the rent, during the COVID times. And I said to her, look, if you can get a hold of these buyers, and she's like, I'm going to have to give your details to them once the transfer goes over, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I really want to speak to them, because at least I'm now in a situation where I can start planning. Now, before this phone call took place, and I'm going with divine timing because I'd literally gotten out of the shower and I think just finished getting dressed, and you can see that my hair's nothing done or whatever, when the phone call came through. And I'd already written two blogs on my website this morning before this phone call, stating that my levels of anxiety and stress are not as high because, and again I'm going to say, Andrew said it yesterday, and in the moment I was just such a fucking mess. I could hear and register what he was saying. You know how annoying it is when you run around, boss, in the back of my fucking videos? Oi! Anyway, he was like, can you defer uni? And I'm crying and I'm wanting to break stuff and I'm slamming shit down and doing good old live shit. And all I kept thinking was, not again, not again, not again. Oh my God, I can't go through this again. I want to finish uni. I want to finish my undergrad. And in my head, in that moment when he mentioned it, I was like, fuck, okay, how would that even work? I've had to postpone trimester 1 because none of my units, they match, yeah? And the one that does, which is research methods, statistics, B2, intermediate, whatever you want to call it, third year, is what's in T1, yeah? I obviously cannot do that unit until I've done research beginners, which is my very last year 2 site unit to do. And I've been enrolled like 3 or 4 times and I keep pulling out because it is one of those units that's just, for the sake of my own mental health, if nothing else, better that I do by itself, because it's using computer software, it's using different formats, blah, blah, blah. And we all know how we feel about technology, okay? So I was like, okay, I'm going to do my last 2 units, which are personality and psychopathology, okay? I've got all my notes, I've got everything ready, everything's done, everything's sorted. I just have to fucking read, right? And again, if you've been following me for long enough, it's the 24th of May. Trimester 2 starts in the beginning of July. And I haven't fucking done shit. Not really. Not the way I thought that I would anyway. So I guess on some level, maybe my soul intuition knew this was coming. It's the only thing I could think of. Again, like with the notes, like they're blue tacked on. I can take them with me. But Andrew mentioned, the possibility of deferring. And I was just like, no, I can't do this. Not again. Not a whole other year to start back again in trimester 2. Like, that's a year away. But then I realised later on, now I spent yesterday, once Andrew left, I promised him I would be safe, which is probably a really good thing because I haven't felt so close to hurting myself or that unsafe since the last time I did it. which I would have talked about it on video. And I remember saying to my therapist, I'm never going to do it again. I cut in a place that's just unbelievable, blah, 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 blah. And that's all well and good, but not true, because yesterday I was so close to calling the emergency suicide line, because that is how unsafe I felt. And the only real reason I didn't is again, I've worked there. These people are amazing. It is fantastic. There are people like me who, though, like, it's like me in journaling. I can journal until the cows come home. Doesn't do anything for me, okay? I have to share. I've given up trying to figure out why. I don't know why, but this is what I have to do. And in that moment, I was like, no. And then I came inside and I hugged Boss, cried my eyes out. And I came to bed and I hugged my teddy bear and I just cried until I just didn't know what to do. And then I ended up, because the people that were at my birthday, for example, besides my family, they're the people from the community hub that I volunteered at, where I taught kids to drive, food banks, been to multiple Christmas parties, had multiple of these people, like the CEO, for example, has been to my last 2 birthdays, my last 4 lot of drinks, man. And I obviously have his number. So I called him in just like this panic, because up until this morning, or maybe late last night when I fell asleep, which was like no word of a lie, guys, if you read my blogs, I went to bed at 6:30 last night. 6:30. I was 6:33 when I wrote the fucker blog, and I think by the time I uploaded it and went to the bathroom and came back, it might have been like 6:40. But about that time. Anyway, I called him, and then he was like, call this number. She's the crises coordinator person. And I got a machine. I left a message saying, call me back, blah, 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 blah. The CEO called me back, and he's like, how did it go? I was like, wasn't available, left a message. And he's like, okay, I'm on it, right? So she rang me, and I'm explaining everything to her, because of the kind of person I am, I can't just explain this part of a story. I need to explain the whole thing, otherwise it doesn't make any sense in my fucking head. Probably why I'm at 17.5 minutes right now. Anyway, I'm talking away to her, and I'm like, I know Michael. She goes, I know you know Michael. She goes, you know me too. And I'm like, trying to place her. She goes, and then she starts listing all the stuff from what we'd talked about. And she's like me. She's spiritual, crystals, Reiki, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, I do know you. I've met you numerous times. And I guess in a way that helped. She, like, in between him calling her and everything going on, I had sent my message, like my GP, a message. And again, so grateful. I know I'm a very, very lucky, grateful person, yeah? I have my doctor's very personal mobile number, not a work number that's separate to a personal number, her actual personal number that's on all the time, like the rest of us with their phones, yeah? So I sent her a message saying something along the lines of, I'm in full-blown crises. I've checked your availability. The next available isn't until Saturday. This is a private practice, right? So a 10-minute appointment with my doctor costs $85 unless you're on a disability like I am, and then it gets bulk billed. But usually the bulk billing isn't available during the Saturday, Sunday appointments, right? So I messaged her saying, I don't know what to do. I'm in full crisis. This is when your next appointment is. Am I eligible to have it? I need to speak to you effective immediately. Like, and I think the words were I used, I need you to call me. I need to speak to you as fast as humanly possible. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in last night's one or not. And if I repeat myself, well, it's probably because obviously I have to. And she did. She dropped everything and she called me. And she not only called me, but she spent like 25, 27 minutes on the phone calming me the fuck down and gave me permission to take extra Valium, because at this point, all I could see in my head, guys, was my knife and my mum telling me to just take your medication and live a normal life and get on with it because you do not deserve any compassion. And my mum said that to me. And I've said it all along. There are certain things that when people say them, you don't forget. I must have literally looked like a lunatic. Should have been in a like straitjacket when poor Andrew was here, because I'm like walking in circles in my kitchen. I've taken Valium, I'm smoking weed, I'm doing everything, and I'm raging, crying, just repeating over and over and over again what I can hear my mum saying to me. You don't deserve any compassion. Everything about you, as your illness says. Take your fucking medication and live a normal life. Why can't you just be normal? Why can't you be like everyone else? And that just makes everything so much worse. So I was, in all honesty, very scared for my safety yesterday. But at exactly the same time, I've been saying this for as many years as I can honestly remember. If someone sent someone to me that was a professional someone that I did not know, I'm very certain, sure, afraid, scared that it would end way worse than what the person who had sent the people to me intended. Right? I don't know how else to explain it to that, but if it ever gets to the point where someone in my real life who knows me, who knows where I live, is genuinely to God afraid for my safety, you need to rock up. Because if you send police to me or the cat team to me or anybody else to me, unfortunately that's when my ego will kick in, and I know this. And yeah, so deferring uni, I gotta hurry up because I really gotta go. But I kept thinking about it, and then I caught, like, so in between, like, say, speaking to all these people, I was just trying to speak to, like, anybody I could who I knew or who knew about me to help me. Like, people saying you're not going to end up in your car and it's all going to be okay and everything like that, blah, blah, blah. Yes, all the same things I would say to the next person, but just like the next person, I'm like, all well and easy to say. Yeah, guys, I live on a disability. I pay $100 a week rent. Rent's going to be $350, $400 up. And I'm not moving into a dump of a house for $370. I'm just not going to. I will sleep in my car. And I think what people aren't understanding is that is an option I would choose before locking myself into a dump, okay? I like my car. My car works fine. I got a good mechanic. Me and boss fit comfortably. All the worst case scenarios I have dealt with, but it was the university and my job and everything else freaking me the fuck out. So in between all of these phone calls, I called the university disability centre. I was clearly a mess. I always feel really bad when I talk to the receptionist or the admin or whoever that might be, when it's very clear they are talking to someone who's in a full-blown panic. You just know when you're talking to someone like that, yeah? And I said to the lady, I said, look, I need to speak to someone. I said, such and such is my normal person I deal with. And she's like, can you deal with such and such? He's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, I know him. He's the one that's been emailing back and forth about trimester 2 for my PDF shit to be read to me, yeah? So she transferred me through to his line, and I got the machine, and I just hung up. I couldn't leave a message on a person's machine that I'd never ever spoken to before except via email in the state that I was in. So after that, I got to speak to my doctor, and then I got to speak to the crisis person, and the crisis person was like, you were one of us, you worked with us for years. She's like, you went out of your way to help people, you're a volunteer. She goes, we help everybody in crises. She goes, but you are pretty much, we're putting you at the top, yeah? Like, we will do whatever it takes to make sure you are okay because you're one of us. And that made me feel good and supported. Obviously, I've said, I went to bring my bin in, I checked my mail, there was a blank card with a card in there with cash in it. I know who it was, and I know they don't want to be me talking about it, but I am beyond grateful. Like, I think you've all realised that one of my biggest things was the fact that I always thought that I would have my bond and at least 2, preferably 3 months rent in advance. And I thought that even when this started on Friday, until I started looking, yeah? And that's when I realised I wouldn't. So yesterday's gift has probably pulled me out of that. So I probably now combined, as long as I don't touch a single fucking cent of the money in my savings account, will have at least bond and rent. But where are we at? I started thinking about it once I calmed down. So I'd spoken to the crisis lady at the hub. She's like, we've got all of these plans in place. My doctor said the same. You have to ground. You have to keep yourself as grounded as humanly possible, because when I'm in the panic state, that's when I start breaking shit and hurting myself. And again, I think I made a video yesterday, and I don't know if it's on the one that I fucking uploaded or not, but there are billions of ways that you can hurt yourself, all right? And I don't truthfully believe that a single soul on this planet wants to do that. It's just that when you live with the crap that I do, and again, I'm one of billions of people, which is why I share, it can become so overwhelming, and the pain, it's like this emotional pain that is, it's like your soul is literally being ripped apart, yeah? And I truly believe everything happens for the sake of my higher self. I really, really do that. And my human side is like, fuck my higher self. Fuck. I don't want to be here anymore. And that's when it gets confusing. Anyway, once I managed to calm myself down, which was after 15 milligrams of Valium and smoking quite a bit of weed, or vaping, I should say. Either way, I'm smoking weed. I sent university an email, the same person that I'd been put through to, who I'd been dealing with about trimester 2. Again, when this is who I am, this is how I am. I'm so fucking sick of feeling like I need to apologize for being me, but I write like I talk. That's the fucking gist of it, okay? So when I wrote the email to the university, I was like, this is happening. This is my situation. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen, but this is all going to take place in the beginning of trimester 2. And now I am so fucking freaked out about university, because I've been saying it for fucking ages. 4 units, guys. I have 4 fucking units, make or break, to get into my next degree. Plenty of my friends have finished their degrees, guys. They got jobs that I wouldn't thank you for. There are jobs that I'm on disability for a reason. I don't care if any of you go, she looks fine and she sounds fine and she's all this and blah, 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 blah. That's ignorance, okay? Billions of fucking conditions are invisible, all right? Just ask all the people who've been with me in a room and I'm losing my fucking mind. I promise you. I'm dealing with crap. But anyway, I sent this letter and I was like, okay, I really thought about what Andrew said. I got to that point, and that was like the last video I think I made, where I was just like sedated enough to just be like, okay, I can work my way through this without any emotion, because I have literally sedated myself to the point of, well, I can't get worked up too much. Well, or so I thought, because I literally bawled my eyes out when I turned the lights off in the manifestation, or the meditation with my positive affirmations. As soon as it started, I was just crying and crying and crying. And I cried until I fell asleep. But I have realized that I've been saying for so long now, I'm not mentally stable for this, and I'm not mentally stable for that, and I'm not blah, blah, blah. On my good days, I'm great. On my bad days, well, you've all seen it, yeah? So I realized Andrew was right when I started really just taking the emotion out of it and just being real literal and rational. And that was regarding, say, I worked out, right? So I couldn't do any studies trimester 1 this year, excuse me, because the only unit I've got left that is for a trimester 1 is the research methods in 3rd year. Obviously, I cannot do that without the 2nd year. And I realized, so I was doing the personality and psychopathology in T2 starting in July. Then in November in trimester 3, I'd be doing the beginning research. And then in the first trimester next year, I'd be doing the 2nd research, and I'd be finished by the end of trimester 2. No, the end of trimester 1 next year. So I'd be finished my degree by June, right? Now, I had no intention at all, truthfully, of applying for my honours degree for the mid-year intake. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to apply for honours for the first trimester intake. What are we in? 2022, 2023, in 2024. So, for example, now that I've been able to just sort of break this down, and again, Andrew said it, you've got to break it down into smaller amounts, smaller chunks. Like, I worked at a crises hotline. I worked at a suicide crisis hotline. I've done training in mental health and suicide. I've got a certificate for an alcohol and drugs, which includes mental health, homelessness, all of this stuff. I am very nearly finished a psych degree. Rationally, I'm perfectly fine. Unfortunately, I'm just not rational all the time. I take buckets of fucking medication. Though on saying that, I have managed to fill my pillbox this morning while having breakfast and talking to Rachel on the phone. So I've at least taken that. Anyway, I'm going to have to wrap this up. So the point is, I realized that I would not have to wait the whole year to start again, because if I defer uni for trimester 2, and again, I've got no idea how these rules work, because I've now had to defer 2 trimesters over the past 6 years. I'm fairly certain, since I put into the letter, I'm trying to wrap my head around the possibility of moving into my car, they might be like, yeah, it'll be fine. Like, people do it all the time. So if I can defer trimester 2, which effectively is what I'm going to have to do if uni allows it, which I think that they will given the circumstances, then that gives me time to do what I need to do, and then I can start in trimester 3, which is over the summer, just doing 1 unit, just the 1 unit with the research statistics, which, you know, I would love to be able to get as much practice in before then anyway. And then again, so if I take out trimester 2 from this year, do trimester 3 and trimester 1 like I was going to anyway, and the research methods in year 3 is one of the most important units to get the grades on. Like, if, say for example, I don't get quite the highest grades I need on the rest, which I obviously want to, if I can get smashing high marks on that one, and again, it's technology, guys, so I need all of you to pray for me, okay? I'll be fine. But there is absolutely no point in me trying to push myself through all of this, try to get all of this done, end up with fucking marks that I'm just not going to get into honours, and I'm going to be screwed anyway long term. So I think I'm okay and have accepted it, that at some point today I will be speaking to uni, and if it's not today, it'll be tomorrow. And asking about my options. They still haven't been able to figure out the books anyway, so if I don't do it in T2, they've got plenty of time. And ultimately, if this is how it goes, which I'm starting to think more and more is how it's going to go, I will only finish my undergrad degree 1 trimester later than originally planned. and that one trimester later is like, it's fine in the sense of like, I wasn't applying for honours anyway until the next year, and I would have just had that time off. So I'm better off to have the time off now when I need it, to still go through everything, get everything I need done, have more time to feel relaxed, not rushed. You know, like I have faith. I have absolute faith the universe will look after me. It always has, it always does. I have to keep my high vibrations high, and I know this. So I think this is my plan of attack. I'm going to defer uni for trimester 2. Get rid of that, take the stress away. My landlord called. She is not giving me notice. She is just selling the house. So she goes, in 60 days, I just won't be a landlord anymore. But as far as I'm concerned, you haven't been evicted. She goes, the new owners, whenever they are ready to evict you, have to give you the notice, right? And she's like, I'm fairly certain it's 60 days. I don't know how it works because I've been in rentals before where it was 28. I'll call VCAT, I'll double check all my stuff. But she was like, even if they do want to knock it down straight away, she goes to me, she goes, they still got to go through the permits. They got to get the bulldozing things. And council had already said all of this. So it's all, working out. And she goes, I'm still waiting on permits for the other house. And I'm like, what do you mean, the one that burnt down? She's like, yeah. I'm like, hasn't that been going on like since the beginning of the year? And she laughed and went, no, this is now a year. She goes, I've been waiting a year and I still don't have those permits. That's how this is going. And she's like, and she did try to say, that obviously paying $100 a week rent doesn't even cover my repayments, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, no, I fully obviously appreciate that. I was like, when the whole thing went down with the builder you were using, who was like half the owner at the time, he'd made it impeccably clear that you were never going to rent the house out. So whether my repayments cover hers or not is irrelevant because it's still going towards it in case otherwise the house would be empty. You know what I mean? So I'm feeling a lot better because I don't have to be out by 60 days. 60 days, the owners will change. Then the new owners will contact me. She said, look, I'm no longer have any control over the house once it goes into the new owner's hands. And I'm like, yeah, obviously I understand this. Yes. I said, I would like to talk to them. I said, I fully appreciate that I pay cheaply. And if they want me to increase my pay, rent, or whatever it is, I'm obviously very happy to negotiate. Yeah. I love my home. I have said to her, the house is falling down. I have had to pay for so much plumbing. There are multiple things in the house that I literally cannot use. I said, and the only reason I just keep letting it go is because of how much I rent. Yeah. I said, so if they do want to keep me on and they do want to up my rent, they do want to do all of that, that's all well and good, but they'll have to be fixing everything. Yeah. And I think that's fair. But she said, look, I'm going out of my way to get as much information as I possibly can for you. I apologize for how I spoke to her yesterday. I said, look, I know I may have come across as rude. I may have come across as, I don't even know how I came across. I said, but I'm trying to deal with this news, which is, and because she mentions, oh, you're a student, we've got hardship, you've got hardship, you're a student. I said, take being a student away. I'm on disability. That's a whole different thing. And that's what I said to her. I said, do you realize that I live on disability? She goes, no, I had absolutely no idea. And I'm like, well, I've been living on disability for like 10 years, yeah? I'm at uni to try and help myself. Fucking Rachel this morning, oh my God, I love her, but she's like, how much are you getting paid to do all of this stuff? And I'm like, well, the stuff I'm doing today and all the work going into it, I'm not getting paid. I said, I get paid for the actual workshops. If the workshop goes for an hour, I get 100. If it goes for 2 hours, I get 200, so to speak, and then I got to work out all the other stuff. And I mean, I know she was half asleep, and I know she's tired, and I know she's working crazy fucking hours. But she said to me, it's not worth it. Like, why are you doing this? It's not worth your time or effort. And I didn't really want to get into it with her, but all I said was, I guess we're different in that sense. Because to me, this is 1000% worth it. This is 6 years in the making, guys. 6 fucking years, yeah? Okay? If this has manifested, I hold on and have faith that everything else that I know is going to happen is going to happen. I have to. I know this. And nothing's ever really been about the money to me since I learned abundancy. Yes, I have to pay bills. Yes, I have to pay school. Yes, I have to pay rent. Yes, I have to pay for specialists. Yes, I have to do all of that. But there is absolutely not one single part of me that thinks giving up this job is what I need to do to go and get another job, which is going to fuck with me anyway. Just being a support worker, working, a few hours a day for a couple of days exhausted me, right? I literally told my landlord, I'm in the process of looking for a new fucking walking stick. Like, I like riding my motorbike. True. I can't move it. I can't wheel it out. I can't do this. I can't do that. I need to get stronger. I need all of this stuff. It doesn't change the fact that there are days where I get up and I feel like I'm going to fall straight down. This is my reality. And I'm feeling a lot calmer and better because, again, like I've said, I'm getting shit sorted. I've started pulling stuff out of the shed. The first 3 things I pulled out was like easy. They're all going to donation. They've been sitting in there for 5 years. Away they go, right? Easy, easy, easy. Like I said, the tent's gone. I can get into the cupboard. I've got clothes coming out my freaking ears that I don't wear, that every single time I try to sort through my clothes, I'm like, the one day never fucking comes, guys. So it's time to just really get this shit out, yeah? So I guess the moral of my story is I do not have 60 days to leave. I have to be given notice in writing by the new owners. And again, my landlord was like, even if they want to start building immediately, they need plans. They need demolition plans. They need permits. They need this. They need that. And she's like, my house was built, like it was built, it was living in, electrical fire happened, it's now burnt down. Like you can see the bricks at the outside, the inside's gone. And it's been a year since she's waiting on her permit. So she goes, there is no way for any of us to tell you any kind of time frame. Because, and I understand that. And I guess now that I understand that I got to defer uni, I got to do this and everything else, at least if it gets to a point, say for example, where it's 60-day settlement, the owners are like, look, we're going to now go for the permits. We're going to keep you aware of sort of, like what's going on. But if it gets down to it, say like they have to go for a permit and it's 6 months and then 6 months it's done. I understand that those 6 months, for example, I'll be doing stuff, looking into that. But I have every intention of getting my house to a point where when that day comes, I can just move everything into storage that I need to if I haven't found a place yet. And I don't know, like, boss is like the best Peter cuddle buddy ever, and I've slept in my car in the back with him before, and it's not me trying to fucking manifest sleeping in my car, obviously the fuck not, but I am still human, yeah? And truthfully to God, if I'm 100% billion honest with myself and everyone else, the idea of moving into a goddamn fucking dump for nearly $400 really doesn't do anything to help me, because I've worked out last night, I've never paid more since being on disability and living by myself. I went through all the different houses, not the share houses, that's a whole different story as I've said, but I went through all the houses I've lived through by myself, and I've never paid more than 250, I think it was, at my last house before here, and that included all of my bills, right? So you got to, guys, remember, you know, like disability, rent, bills, medication. Again, like I've left a message, I really need to speak to my specialist, but I don't have $100 to do that, to spare. Yeah, so we'll see where we're at and all of that wonderful stuff, but it is 9:15. I have to get in my fucking car and go. Hopefully I'm not late now. Obviously this is 45 minutes, way longer than I thought it would be, but anyway, guys, I'm feeling much better, much calmer, and I'm just going to end this on saying it is my 8-year anniversary to the day today of meeting the other half of my core frequency, the one I love more than anything, I guess, or to put it correctly, the one who I love, who is continuing to teach me that unconditional love for all is what's the most important thing. 8 years ago today, my whole life changed. Every single thing about it. And it's a long time. But you know what? Even with all of everything going on, I am grateful. I am grateful to my friends. I am grateful for what I've been through. I'm grateful for what I'm learning. I'm grateful for my new team, my job. I'm grateful that, you know, my university is amazing. I'm grateful that I had it pointed out to me that I should defer uni, because I don't know in that panic if I would have contemplated that. And now that I've realized that it's so important to do, given how important the last units are, I feel so much better. I really do. I'm still going to live as cheaply as I possibly can. You know, to get where I need to, you know, and that's cool. I'm happy. Andrew bought me crumpets, so you're honestly like the best friend, honestly. I swear to God, man, if you like to drink or eat or do something, I would 100% take you out just to say thank you. That would be my one thing, you know, to splurge on, because I don't know what I would have done without you. So thank you. I realized yesterday, Ferdinand, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I did listen to your voice message a few times, that you are actually probably the person I've known for the longest, since I keep thinking it's Grant, but I've known Grant for like, say, 10, 11 years, and Ferdinand, you might need to message me again, I'll just have to keep listening. I've known you since I was 19, so yeah. And I thank you for looking and sending me stuff, and I appreciate all of that. But at the moment where I'm at, I don't want to look for houses if they're all available now. I'm just going to deal with this and what I've got to do and where I've got to get to, and to get my head around it. The fact that I have not got to be out within 60 days. The fact that once the sale goes through, the new owners still have to go through so much paperwork and permits and plans before they can even knock it down, that there's a highly good chance I may get to stay here, even if it is just for a few months extra. It's enough. So I'm going to utilize my garden. Thankfully I've got all this fancy dirt in my garden, which I can just put into the buckets for the weed plants, so that's wonderful. I'm going to plant my carrots and my lettuce. I looked up potatoes. Apparently I can grow potatoes at this time of the year, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to break everything down, chunk it down, and just do what needs to be done. And since university is what causes me the most amount of overwhelm and stress, parking that until T3, I think, is what I'm going to have to do. Andrew, once again, you're a lifesaver. I am so fucking grateful that this house I manifested is across the road from yours, because you are one of the nicest, sweetest, kindest people I've ever met. And I hope that even when it gets to the point where I have to move, that we can still catch up for a coffee or a tea, or, well, for me and you, we'll just a chat, because I'll miss you. And yeah, I really gotta go now, guys. Talk later.